everybody. Welcome to Country Then and Now. I'm Casey Gibbs. We are joined today by upcoming artist from Nashville. His new album, What in Man, comes out September 27th. We're going to be playing a lot of the new stuff off of that album, as well as the new single in a little bit. Welcome, Trey Calloway. How are you, buddy?
Thank you, Mr. Gibbs. It's great to be here, buddy. It's an honor, man. I appreciate you
Mr.
having me.
Gibbs? Well, yeah, we can forget that. Just
All right, Casey. I'll call you Casey, brother.
There
You
go.
got it, man. You got it, brother.
Gibbs was my dad. So.
Yeah, all right. Like Mr. Calloway's Frank. That's my dad, too. I get it, buddy.
Are you in Nashville right now, or where are you?
I am. I am in West Nashville. I live a little bit, about 15 minutes west of Nashville.
Okay. When'd you move up there? I know you're from North Carolina.
Yes, sir. I've been living in Nashville for about 2.5 years now. I lived in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, for about 5 years before leaving the Charlotte area where I'm originally from. Yes, sir.
Did you perform in Myrtle Beach when
we did? I played in that music scene a whole lot, man. There's some of my best memories are down there. Places like the Bowery, where Alabama got their start in, and the Boathouse is another great gig. And there's Merle's Inlet and Wahoo's and Dead Dog Saloon down there, and Ducks Nightlife in North Myrtle Beach, and Captain Archie's. Captain Archie's might be one of my favorite places I've ever played.
Cool. That's one place I haven't been. I need to get to.
Man, it's great. North Myrtle and Myrtle are great, man. It's Merle's Inlet. Merle's Inlet is kind of like the unsung hero of that area down there too. It doesn't get enough credit, but it's a cool place too.
Gotcha.
Yes, sir.
Well, yeah, I've been to Nashville, been to Branson, but not Merle yet. So
I've not been to Branson yet. I've not been to Branson yet.
It's different than it used to be. So
yeah,
it's still a fun place.
Yeah.
I know you're a preacher's son.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Got doctrinated with Southern gospel and contemporary Christian. And that's where a lot of your influence comes from in the music you do. So talk about that a little bit.
So you're right on the money. My father was a Pentecostal evangelist when I was growing up. Church of God. We're in the Church of God denomination, and so he was an evangelist. Folks out there that might not know, he was a traveling preacher. So he would go around and preach revivals, 4 or 5 night revivals in these different churches, and I would always get up before he would preach his sermon and sing a song. Probably around the age of 5, 6 years old, I started doing that. And so that got me kind of caught on the music bug early on. And so up until about the age, about 13, 14, I was singing gospel music and contemporary gospel, as well as a lot of Southern gospel stuff too. I think that's where the country music love came in for me. And then I started playing country music around the age about 13, 14. And I knew pretty early on that I wanted to be a country music artist. Like we were talking before the show started, I love all kinds of music, but country has always had my heart.
What artist was it that got you listening to country when you first heard them?
That's a great question, Casey. So early on, my mom and dad said, if you're going to play country music, we want you to have a good knowledge of the classics of country. So they bought me a country music greatest hits set that had George Jones and Patsy Cline. But basically, in my mom and dad's household, George Jones is the king of country music, the undeniable king of country. My dad jokes around and says that I'm his second favorite country singer. So, but being second to George Jones is not bad.
Nothing to cry about.
That honestly sounds like a song hook to me, man. I think that'd be a good song to write about my dad. But so early on, it was Patsy Cline, Loretta Lynn, and Waylon and Willie, and all that good stuff. And then as I got on later on into my music career, I started getting into Alan Jackson and Garth Brooks and George Strait, and that '90s barn burner type of country really got a hold of me. That's what really spoke to my soul.
And
was that storytelling
music too.
Oh, thank you, sir. I appreciate that, man. It's that 4 on the floor, just rocking and grabbing a hold of a crowd and not letting go until you're done with them. It's just kind of that's what we love, man.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
The new single is Back Road Believer.
Mm-hmm. Yes, sir.
Listening to that the other night kind of reminds me a little bit about your upbringing.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. 100%.
That I assume that's where the catalyst came from for the song.
It is. So the song is semi-biographical. I was still a kid and a preteen and a young teenager when I was singing in church like that. So the main character of the song is more of a teenager age, more of that. Got my first driver's license, got my first set of wheels, and I'm out on a back road, and that's where this kid finds God. And so, but part of me is in that character.
Okay.
So it's not directly biographical, but there's definitely a lot of my feelings from that age in that teenage angst combined with that morality that says, I know there's truth in the words that the preacher's preaching, but sometimes every now and then that's not where I find God. I find God in a back road, on a back road, looking at a barn
Absolutely.
or driving by a fence post. And it's just it's a great song. And I'm almost sad to say, Casey, that I was not expecting this song to stream as well as it did. I thought, like I said, sad to say, I thought maybe the Lord doesn't have a place in modern commercial country music, especially a fast, uplifting song that's not something sad, a sad song, a fast, rocking, upbeat song about the Lord. I was like, man, I don't know if people are gonna care, but they did. It was my fastest rising song to hit 100,000 streams. It hit 100,000 streams in a matter of a few days. And I was like, wow, God is good, man. That's a
Yep.
testament to the fact that there's still power in that name. And man, I'm happy I couldn't be more happy and a little ashamed of myself that I doubted it, but I no longer doubt it.
Well, let's go ahead and play it.
All right, brother.
This Back Row Believer, Trey Calloway, Country Now and Then.
Sitting on the front row pew, shirt and tie and my Sunday shoes, stained glass colors scattered across the hardwood floor. My hand on the Bible, my eyes on the time, till our last day men in that handshake line. My black top church, it was waiting outside the door. 'Cause I'm a back road believer, I'm a sunshine receiver. I find grace among those holy pines, and heaven in between those broken lines. I know there's truth in the sermon of the preacher, but God made me a back road believer. Amen. Sunday driving with the Holy Ghost, salvation in a barn or an old fence post. Hallelujah shouting about every quarter mile. It's a spiritual journey on good year times, a miracle seen through a country boy's eyes, singing along till an AM gospel choir. Yeah, 'cause I'm a back road believer, I'm a sunshine receiver. I find grace among those holy pines, and heaven in between those broken lines. I know there's truth in the sermon of the preacher, but God made me a back road believer. Yeah. 'Cause I'm a back road believer, I'm a sunshine receiver. I find grace among those holy minds. In heaven, in between those broken lines, I know there's truth in the sermon of the preacher. God made me. God made me. My God made me a backroom believer. Amen. Backroom believer. Yeah.
Backroom believer, Trey Calloway on Country Then and Now. I'm Casey Gibbs. There, you got a voice on that some people might be familiar with doing backing vocals.
Yes, sir. Yes,
Take
sir.
this
That's Mr. Tay Lewis right there. Yes,
Yep.
sir. The man. He's
from
what
season was he on?
he was on this last season, if I'm not mistaken. If unless there's a one going on right now,
I don't think
he
there is.
yeah, he was on the one that just got done airing.
Okay,
Yes,
I
sir.
can't keep track.
Yeah, and it's actually how he and I met. So we were in the studio cutting that song, and we were like, man, it would be really cool to have a couple of people with really big voices to come in here and almost sound like a choir singing with me,
Yeah.
because we had originally thought, and still maybe we still may do it, but we had originally thought about doing a music video for this song, and there being a choir, like a Sunday morning choir with me singing back behind me, and we were just like, man, that would be the coolest visual of a music business, a music video.
Mhm.
So my producer Grady had Tay in his contact list. They had done some stuff together, and Tay came and sang in there. And I wasn't able to make the session where he was doing his harmonies on there, doing his background vocals, but I could hear him. There's an app that allowed me to monitor the session. I was in Charlotte, North Carolina at the time, and I was listening to this guy sing, and I'm like, man, this guy can sing like nobody's business. And he was really digging the song and really having a good time. And so he and I kind of connected. I think he came to see me at one of my shows at the local, and we just hit it off, man. We're kindred spirits. We're both from North Carolina. And man, he's as good as they come. And
Yeah.
he just signed him a record deal, and he's doing all kinds of stuff, man. He and I write together a lot with another buddy of ours, Anthony Smith. And man, he's as good as they come, man.
Yeah. For those that don't know what we're referring to, Trey was on The Voice. So
Yeah.
I might should have said that when I mentioned the season.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, he if I'm not mistaken, I think he came in 4th or 5th, but he in my opinion was the winner. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah. Yeah. You've also got another song that came out a little bit ago, Horses in Heaven.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Horses in Heaven. Those are the two what I would call gospel oriented songs on the record.
Where did the idea for that come from?
So Horses in Heaven, I wrote with my buddies Cody Kelly and Doc Lewis and JP Williams, and we had been writing together for about a month or two, and came into this session. And Doc was actually the one who had the title Horses in Heaven in his book, and he threw it out, and we all looked at each other because we'd been bouncing some ideas around. And we're like, man, that's the title right there, Horses in Heaven. So he threw it out. We knew, we're like, okay, we're gonna write Horses in Heaven. So we wrote the song. And the song was really, in its core at the beginning, a song about losing a best friend, a best friend dying. But we never really specified who that person was. We never said, it's my mom or my dad or my best friend or whoever. We thought it was probably better to leave it up to the listener's interpretation.
Mm-hmm.
And that song was one of my immediate crowd favorite songs, one of my favorite songs to play live almost immediately. And I couldn't help every time I sang it but think about a best friend of mine that I lost last year to a drug overdose. And he was also a musician, very talented musician. That he and I played in bands together back in North Carolina and a little bit in Myrtle Beach. And we had lost touch. We'd lose touch, we'd reconnect. We lost touch, and I always tried to be there for him. But I had a son and a wife and a career, and I was trying to balance all these things, and it was hard to always keep in touch with him. But
Right.
we lost him last year, and he'd been clean and sober for about 9 months, and then he, I guess, relapsed and lost his life to it. But every time I would sing that song, I couldn't help but think about him, and so that song took on the meaning of losing one of my best friends, Andrew, to it. And I played that song. It was relatively new. I think it was the single at the time, and we played it when we were opening up for McBride and the Ride at the Neon Steeple. And I played it, and this big burly biker dude comes up to me, and he's crying, and he said, "Man, that song hit me right here. It made me think about my dad." And I was like, man, that's why we write songs right there.
Mhm.
So Horses in Heaven. If I had to pick one favorite song off this album, it'd probably be that one, because that song just people really seem to connect well with it, and I'm glad you brought it up. It makes me happy that you mentioned it.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
You bet. Let's go ahead and play it real quick. Horses in
Okay.
Heaven.
Very cool.
Stop by to see you on my way home today. Laid a yellow rose by your cold stone grave. Tough as a saddle, strong till the end. A light in a dark world, and my best friend. Oh, I held your head while your tired eyes closed. I still remember the last words you spoke. No, I ain't afraid of dying, 'cause I've seen what's on the other side. A cobblestone road, all paved in gold, and blue, clear skies. You can't tell me that God ain't a cowboy. Man, he's right there wearing a Stetson. Oh, and there's horses in heaven. I bet right now you're bringing them in. You and them angels right in the wind. Oh, and here in this silence I hear you again, saying don't be afraid of dying, 'cause I've seen what's on the other side. A cobblestone road, all paved in gold, and blue, clear skies. You can't tell me that God ain't a cowboy. Man, he's right there wearing a Stetson. Oh, and there's horses in heaven. Oh, you can't tell me that God ain't a cowboy. Man, he's right there wearing a Stetson. So when he finally calls me home, we'll both watch them roam. Those horses in heaven.
Horses in Heaven, Trey Calloway. And that is off the new album coming out on the 27th, Wanted Man, as is all the music we're playing today. I noticed on Spotify the other night that your first album came out in 2016, I believe.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
How has it evolved? How's your music evolved over the years?
Well, I was a baby. I was a baby when we made that album, and the process of making that album was kind of to the degree of, okay, kid, sit over in the corner, and we got this part, and you sing when we tell you to. And that was a good learning experience for me. It was my first time in a real recording studio and in a legit around real players, players that know a whole heck of a lot more about making records than I did. And the main difference with the Wanted Man album is that I basically co-produced this album with the producer Grady, and it was a lot of my own blood and sweat and tears went into this. A lot of my own ideas went into this, and it was a great team effort. I had a lot more say over the way that the album sounded. So that would be the biggest difference. And I think there are a lot of songs on the Carolina Man album. I'm very proud of that album. It's, Carolina Man is the song itself is probably, when I go back home, still everybody's favorite song of mine. I always know when I'm back in the Carolinas because I get requested to play Carolina Man, and that's great. I love that. I really do. I love that song, and maybe I might even re-record it one day. But it's.
I was going to ask if there's any plans to go back and recut some of that stuff.
We probably would. We've tossed around the idea of recutting Carolina Man, and we've tossed around the idea of recutting Country Looks Good on You and Sleeping in the Rain. Would have a good modern feel to it. There's a lot of songs on that album that I'm really proud of. And but if you look at them from a songwriter aspect, from a technical standpoint, a lot of them are pretty long. The songs are well over 4 minutes, most of them. Some of them are even longer. The album was basically like my soul just being bared to a record, and that's great. It was very organic and very honest. But this album has a lot more shine to it and a lot more. I think I've come a long way as a songwriter too, or at least I hope I have. At least I hope I have, so but I'm very proud of that Carolina Man album. I mean, I still stand on that album. I mean, my son's favorite song of mine is Daddy from Day One, and that was on the Carolina Man album. And I wrote that song the day or two after he was born, and I mean, it's still one of my favorite songs.
How old is he now?
He's turning 10 in October.
Okay.
So he's not a little kid anymore. He's a little boy. He'll be a teenager. He'll be a back talking teenager here in a couple of years. I'm prepared. I'm mentally prepared myself.
Are you ready?
No. If he's anything like I was, then no, I'm not. My dad's over there like doing this number.
I've always heard that preachers' kids can be a little wild.
I always had that morality in my heart, but I did go a little wild when I turned about 16, 17. I got a little wild.
Gotcha.
Dad would probably say I was earlier than that, but I'm trying to make myself look good here.
Your definition and his definition are two different things.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I gotta tell you, one of my favorites off this album is the song we're about to play. I Miss Country Music.
Amen, brother.
Because there's not a lot of country in country anymore.
Amen to that. I think.
Go ahead. There's a handful of artists out there that are carrying on traditional country, Zach Top and a few others I can think of. But for the most part, it's not there anymore.
Yeah. Well, it's a shame, but at the same time, I was actually having this conversation with somebody else about this maybe yesterday or the day before. Country, I think, is splitting into two subgenres. I think country music as a whole is kind of splitting to where you have your Zach Tops and you have your Jake Worthingtons and you have your me's even to a degree. And it's great and it's awesome. And then you have your pop country genre and pop country. I know you know this. I mean, pop country's not a new phenomenon, but even pop country back in the 80s and back in the 70s still had country elements to
Right.
it. So I tend to agree with you. You know, the best I can do is the best I can do, and make the music that's honest to me. And you know, people like you respond well to it. That lets me know I'm doing my
Yeah.
job well.
Well,
You know,
same thing. I was having this conversation with a buddy the other day, and country over the last, I'd say, 10 years or so has morphed into, like you just said, subgenres. I mean, for a long time, you had Nashville country and Texas country, and that was
Yes,
it.
sir.
Now you got mainstream country, Americana, Texas
Hmm.
country,
Alt country. Yeah.
kind of folk,
Yeah.
bluegrass. I mean, it's all morphing into what is country
Yeah.
now.
Yes, sir.
And just because people like Luke Bryan, they may not like Zach Top. If they like Zach Top, they may not like this person because it's a
Yeah.
different sound.
Yeah. Well, even to a degree, you know, even going away from pop, even more like a bluesy sound. You know, your guys who would have been in the vein of Stevie Ray Vaughan back in the 80s and 90s, you know, now they can kind of fit into a country mold because
Yep.
blues and country are kind of like cousin genres of each
Right.
other. And so a man with that big graspy rally, you know, gravelly blues man voice can fit really nicely into country with steel guitar on them and stuff like
Yeah.
that too. So I mean, I think as a whole, the music business is fundamentally changing. Some for the good, some for the better. I think streaming is a good thing. I mean, you just have to stream like crazy in order to make any money, but
Right.
it was always like that. You always had to have a hit song to really make any money. You know,
Yeah.
I guess mechanicals have kind of gone away, which I'm not crazy about that. I wish that there were
Nobody is.
songwriters that could make mechanical royalties still, but other than that, you know, the music business has always been a big gamble.
Yeah.
It's always been a big gamble and a big payoff, you know. So
Yeah.
it's tough, man. But you talking about Zach Top, man? Zach Top's doing it right, brother. I like that guy a lot. I've yet to meet him, but there's a mutual fan of mine, who's a big fan of his as well, and goes out to see him play a lot. And he's met him a bunch of times, and he says Zach's really a nice guy. So I've not yet met him.
I've
He's
heard that
popped
from
in.
several people.
Well, I've heard he's very nice. He's popped into the local a couple of times and gotten on stage and played with different bands and stuff like that. And him and Jake Worthington too. Jake Worthington comes into the local quite a bit actually, where I play every Friday night. He'll come in there and be having a good time, and seems to really get along with everybody. And plus,
Yeah.
he's great too. So,
He is.
yes, sir.
Yeah. Well, it's like you were talking about the blues side of things. I mean, you go back and you listen to some of the 70s and 80s rock and roll.
Hmm.
If those bands would have started out today, they'd be considered country. Think of Bob
Absolute
Seger,
Marshall
think
Tucker
of
band.
Marshall Tucker
Marshall.
Band,
Yep. Oh
Bob
yeah.
Seger, the Eagles. I
Yeah.
mean,
Almond Brothers. I would even say a little bit Almond Brothers. Yeah. But
yeah,
you're exactly right. Well, I mean, I think what happened was, you know, I think hip hop became the dominant pop music in, you know, the 2000s,
hmm
and rock and roll needed a place to go, so rock and roll came to Nashville.
yep,
And it's good because a lot of those players did bring some life to country music, and it was a good but my only thing is that you have to pay the homage to country. Country is different in other genres, is that it
right,
is not constantly trying to progress beyond what it's doing.
right.
Country music in and of itself is about tradition, is about heart and soul, three chords and the truth. So
hmm
I'm right there with you, brother, on that one. You know, as long as these artists pay tribute to country and give it the respect that it deserves, I say the more the merrier. But that doesn't always happen, you know.
That always happened. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, let's play it. I miss country music.
All right, let's do it, brother.
There'll never be another Whalen, never be another Jones, never be another Haggard singing me back home. It tears me up inside to know those days are dead and gone. Well, we used to country right, now we country on home. What happened to them old simple songs? I say, bring back the fiddle and the pedal steel guitar man on an old bar stool, singing it loud to a crowd around their fools. Songs about loving, songs about living, songs about the working man and outlaw. And we better get our act together before we lose it. Man, I miss country music. I ain't hating, I'm just saying that what's going on today don't move me like Hank did when he sang about a lost time way. Give her that jukebox, honky-tonkin', boot-stomping kind of thing. If this world needs a little less pop and a lot more twang. Bring back the fiddle and the pedal steel guitar man on an old bar stool, singing it loud to a crowd around their fools. Songs about loving, songs about living, songs about the working man and outlaw. And we better get our act together before we lose it. Man, I miss country music. Bring back the fiddle and the pedal steel guitar man on an old bar stool, singing it loud to a crowd around their fools. Songs about loving, songs about living, songs about the working man and outlaw. And we better get our act together before we lose it. Man, I miss. Come on if you miss. Long live country music. Oh
Trey Calloway, I miss country music on Country Then and Now. I'm Casey Gibbs. Like I said a while ago, all the music we're playing today is off of the new album. I guess you could say this is an album preview show. It comes out September 27th, Wanted Man, and that'll be available on all digital platforms, and I assume on TreyCallawayMusic.com.
Mm-hmm. Yes, sir. Man, I love that song. I was over here jamming to it while you are playing it. That's one of my favorite ones, man. That's one of my favorite ones.
Are you going to have physical copies of the CD, or is it all going to be digital?
We put out a CD. We put out a CD of songs that I had done. It was pretty much everything I'd ever recorded up until the Wanted Man album, and we don't have any plans as of now to put it on a hard copy.
Okay.
But I'm never saying never. I mean,
right.
I think the album is going to do well, and I hope it does well. And so you never know. I might get me one. I might burn me one and send it over to
you.
There you go. You remember that? You remember the CD burning days, man?
Oh yeah. One of people that are 30 years old and younger are not going to know what CD burning is anymore, I don't think so.
No.
Well,
See, I remember just barely. I was a little kid, but I remember when the cassettes were the thing, man. I remember cassettes, but I was so little that I really didn't know a whole bunch about them. But so that was about as far back as I can remember, man. My dad used to talk about 8 tracks.
Yep. I had 8 tracks. I had albums. I had 45s, but the music scene for me as a fan is aggravating because you went from vinyl to tape, and then you went from tape to CD, CD to digital, and you have all this music, all this library of music, and you're thinking, okay, well, vinyl's out, now I got to get it on CD. Well, CD's out, now I got to get it on digital. You buy the thing 3 times over.
Yeah. And now every piece of music ever created fits right here.
It's right. Yeah. It's in our phone. or on
Yeah.
our desktop or laptop.
Yeah. I mean, I've got right over here off the camera. I've got my Memo Lynn's record collection. I inherited it after she passed, and man, there's some good stuff in there. All kinds of Elvis. She was a big Elvis fan. All kinds of Elvis originals and Motown stuff, and a bunch of country records, a bunch of Johnny Cash stuff in there. And she's got some what was the fella? I'm blanking out. Oh, Glenn Campbell. She's got a bunch of Glenn Campbell records and stuff, man. She's got
Okay.
some good stuff over here. So
Yeah, I inherited my memos collection, and it kind of when I moved over years, it kind of got dispersed, and
oh yeah.
so
Oh
I
yeah.
don't know where they're all at now, but
Yeah.
I know where they're not, and that's in my collection. So
Yeah. If you had a good memo that you remember fondly, I've got a good song that I just wrote. It's probably going to end up on my next album. So I can't wait for you to hear it.
okay.
It's a
I'll
good
tell you
one.
when we get off air, I'll give you my email and my phone number and
Okay.
send it to me.
That sounds like a plan, brother. Yes, sir.
Little Bird told me you have some personal plans coming up in a couple of months, or
I
maybe
am
in
getting
a little bit.
I'm getting married in October. To
Congratulations.
Thank you, sir. To the best woman a man could ever wish for. She's better than I deserve. We're getting married in North Myrtle Beach here in a couple weeks. Actually, my son turns 10 3 days before we get married, so we're really excited. That's going to be a great week.
Good deal.
Yes, sir.
How long y'all been together now?
Her and I've been together for about 4 years, and we've been engaged for a year and a half, 2 years, something like that. Man, they all run together after a while. I
Yeah.
feel married to her. I feel married to her in my heart already. So,
Right.
sometimes I call her my wife. Sometimes I say my fiance. Just so you know, they're the same person.
Right. Yeah.
there's not two. There's not two different people, but
Right.
no, it's
Yeah.
she's great, man. She's from Ohio. She's an Ohio girl.
I was
She
about to ask if y'all met in Myrtle Beach or
We did. So during the pandemic, I was living in Nashville, and Nashville shut down kind of overnight. There wasn't a whole lot going on here because of it. So I went back to the beach, and kind of ended up being a good thing that I did, because I was playing a show at Captain Archie's, the club I mentioned earlier, and saw her over there sitting at the bar with her friend. She just moved to town, and walked up to her and said hi, and we started dating about a week after that. So we've been pretty much inseparable since.
and the rest is history.
So they say, Casey. So they say, brother. Yes, sir.
Well, good deal. I'm happy for you.
Thank you, buddy.
So,
Thank you, buddy.
one thing I forgot to hit on at the beginning of the show when we were talking about Back Road Believer, you are up for the 2024 Christian Songwriter of the Year at the TCMAs in November for that.
Man, that one came out of nowhere, man. I'm going to be honest with you. That came out of nowhere. I'm so honored. Both that one and Backward Believer, if I'm not mistaken. And man, it just came out of nowhere. I'm honored. I'm really honored. I love those people. I love all those people affiliated with the TCMAs, man. They're great. They're great.
Linda's a good lady.
They're just all great people, man.
They are.
She, and we were a little worried when we first started trying to break me in Texas. We were a little worried that, that who's this kid from North Carolina? They're not going to want him. But I think my music has spoken for itself and said,
Right.
"Hey, man, this guy's one of us. He gets it. He understands what's up."
I don't think it's got to be where you're from. I think it's the sound more than anything.
Well, it says they got a saying there. Everybody's from Texas. It just takes you a while to get here.
Right. Pretty much. You got it.
I love Texas. We try to go down there and play a bunch of shows as much as we can. And every time I'm down in there, I make some new friends, and I can tell that me and Texas are going to have a long love affair together. Yep. So I love that state.
Well, next time you're down here, holler at me. Go grab.
Oh, are you in Texas?
Yeah, I'm in Fort Worth.
Oh, you're in Fort Worth. Oh, we were just there. We were just there a couple weeks ago. Next time we're there, we got to go out and hang out or something.
Yeah,
that'd be
absolutely
great. All right, very cool, Casey.
Yeah. Miss Gone by Morning. Talk about that.
Yes, so Miss Gone by Morning is a song about. I wrote that song with two of my buddies, Hal O'Dell and Greg Wilson, and I wrote a bunch of songs with Greg and Hal for this record. I think they've got 2 or 3 cuts on this album, and there's one that I'm really hoping that ends up on the next album that we wrote that's about Texas. That's all. The only hint I'll give you is that song is about Texas. But it's a great song. I'm really proud of it. But so Miss Gone by Morning is kind of a fun song. You know, we the way it came about was I was playing on Saturday night one night downtown Broadway in Nashville. And you know how the girls come in with their sashes, you know, bride to be or birthday girl or whatever. And this one particular girl, her sash said Miss Gone by Morning. And I said, well, man, that's a country song title if I've ever heard a country song title before in my life. And so I said, honey, can I write a song about you? Is that all right if I write a song? And man, she didn't know where she was. Even she's like, she's 3 sheets to the wind, man. She didn't care. I said, well, I'm gonna write that down. So I wrote that hook down. I took it to Greg and Hal. Took us about. It actually took that one took a while to write, to really get it all the way right. And I went and cut it. And I knew I wanted that like barn burner 90s country vibe. That's just the kind of song that song is. And man, the record that we put on that one, it turned out so good. It was exactly what I wanted. And that to this day is one of the best songs to play live. One of my favorite songs to play live of my songs. And that's hopefully that's one of those songs that we look back and think, man, those were the old days, you know, when we were just kind of finding out what we were doing, kind of.
Right.
You know, and I've always kind of had a lot of artists want the song to kind of wrap around their voice, and that's cool. I get that, and certain songs that fits well, but there are certain times when you need to let the players just go.
Yeah.
Just let them go. Let them have fun. Let them
their
put
thing.
the gift that God gave them. Let them put that on your record.
Yeah.
And that's what I did with Miss Gone by Morning. And those guys and girls are all playing their butts off on that record. So that's probably instrumentally wise one of the best ones in my opinion, man. That really turned out good.
Well, I gotta say, everything that I've heard so far that's off the album that we played today, and the last song and then the last one we'll play,
cool,
reminds me of 90s country.
Oh yeah, that was very intentional. We said, man, we're gonna go out, and everybody keeps calling me a 90s throwback artist anyway, so I'm gonna go and I'm gonna give them what they want. I'm gonna give them what they want. So that's what we did, man. And you know, I've always tried to balance that. You know, I never set out to be the flag waver for 90s country. I didn't want to be that guy. I wanted to be a country artist, you know. But if it develops into who I become naturally, you know, that's the natural course of the way things happen, you know.
Right.
And we've always tried to take those old messages, that old school messages and that way of doing things, and mix it with a modern shine to it, mix it with a way that somebody you know, all age groups can be like, man, this is country music. We always say undeniably country, but with that modernness to it. That Nashville country, the way you put it, is a good way to say it. I want to redefine Nashville country.
Yeah.
I'd like to say, man, let's bring back the barn burners.
Right.
You know, I mean, because Zach Top, I mean, Sounds Like the Radio is one of my favorite songs. That's such a good tune, man. I mean, and we've started to play it live. We've started to cover it, and man, it gets a good response. You know, we've written a couple like that. Those they're called shuffles. We've written a couple of shuffles like that for the next record. So there wasn't a shuffle on this album. That's the only thing missing there, Casey, is there's no shuffle.
Well, there went that. So
yeah, right. You know, but we got a 6/8 time song on there.
That's
but
close enough,
but it's close. Yeah, close enough, brother.
Yeah, I was giving a buddy of mine a hard time the other day. Ryder Grimes, he's artist down here doing a lot of good stuff, and he just released a song this couple of weeks ago called "Tired of the Radio." And
I've heard it, man.
I was like,
I've heard it.
Hey, Ryder, you're tired of it. Zach sounds like it. Granger Smith, don't listen to the radio.
Yeah.
There's not enough known but the radio. And I'm like, okay.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, I can see why you're tired of it.
Aaron Tippin, there was nothing wrong with his one. Well, man, Ryder is. I'm glad. I figured you would know him, man. He's a great. He and I have only met once, but we've got a lot of mutual friends, and we've got
Yeah.
a lot of mutual songwriting buddies. So it's only a matter of time before our paths will cross again. Man, Ryder is super talented,
He is.
super young,
Yeah.
and man, just nice to fans and nice to people. He was super nice to me when I met him, and he's been playing around Texas a lot longer than I have. And but he never, man, he's always been when I met him at the TCMAs last year, super nice guy, man. I can't wait to see what happens with him.
Yeah.
Maybe me and him can play some shows together sometime. That'd be
Yeah.
fun.
But we can make that happen.
He's
So,
fantastic, man. I got nothing but good things
yeah.
to say about Ryder.
He's
Man.
one of my best friends in
Very
music,
cool.
outside of music. So
Very cool. Very
well,
cool.
let's go ahead and play Miss Dome by Morning.
Let's do it.
All right. Here you go.
I see you making nice at this sweet little honey. Mind full of wishes, a pocket full of money, thinking white picket fence, oh 9 yards. Before you get yourself down the road that far, let me tell you where you are. And you're working on your next broken heart. She's miss gone by morning. She's a hurricane come and gone before you hear that warning. Brother, forget about forever bound. Well, ain't no man gonna hold her down. That sweet little lady's broken every heart in this town. She's an empty glass while you're still pouring. Ain't no happy ever after ending to your story. Well, you might be sad for a while, but you're gonna wake up with a big old smile. Cause she's missed gone by morning. She's a hurricane coming gone before you hear that warning. Brother, forget about forever bound. Well, ain't no man gonna hold her down. That sweet little lady's broken every heart in this town. Here we go. Oh, come on now. I know you're living that she'll never leave you, always be together with you in her arms and holding on. Like I was bitten that she'd never leave me, always be together with me. Then I won't come along. She's missed gone by morning. She's a hurricane come and gone before you hear that warning. Brother, forget about forever bound. Ain't no man gonna hold her down. That sweet little lady's broken every heart in this town. Well, now that sweet little lady's broken every heart in this town. You're gonna miss. You're gonna miss gone by morning. Yeah. Miss gone by morning.
Miss Gone by Morning, Trey Calloway on Country Now and Then and Now, however you want to say.
I love it, man.
Trey, I appreciate you doing this, buddy.
Man, I appreciate you having me, man. This was a lot of fun.
So tell folks where they can find you, where they can get the music, find your tour dates, social links, and all that good stuff.
Well, a good place to probably start if you want to follow me would be Spotify. Please follow me on Spotify, Trey Calloway. Instagram is probably the social media platform that I'm most active on. But I'm on TikTok and Facebook as well. I'm all over all that other stuff. And then TreyCallawayMusic.com is my website. That's got all my dates and bands in town, all that kind of stuff like that. So, yeah, but Instagram is probably the place where if you want to get a hold of me, Instagram is probably the best way to do it. And follow me on Spotify, please.
Okay. Good deal.
Thank you, sir.
You bet. I appreciate you doing it. And
Casey, I appreciate you, buddy.
when you're down here again, holler at me.
Well, I think I'll be down there for the TCMAs this year, so
Okay.
I'm positive I will be. So hopefully, will you be out there doing any press?
Probably going to be out there, probably not doing any press, but
Okay.
I'm planning to be there unless something comes up I don't know about. So,
Well, make sure you get a hold of me and let me know. That way we can get
Yeah.
together and hang out. Maybe we go get us some brisket.
yeah, absolutely.
That sounds like a plan, brother.
Hold off signing off until we get out of here, and I'll get some info from you after we sign off.
You got it, buddy. You got it, buddy.
Until next time, next week, everybody take care. Love one another. We'll see you.